My uncle had taken the money to fund his latest business venture. Now, the business is bankrupt, the money is gone, and my parents are telling me to be understanding. Hello, Reddit. My name is Jake, and I'm 19 years old. For as long as I can remember, my parents have always told me the same thing. Work hard, keep your grades up, and we'll take care of college. I wasn't expecting luxury. I knew we weren't rich, but they made it clear that they had been putting money aside for years so I wouldn't have to start my adult life drowning in debt. I did my part. I got good grades, worked summer jobs, and even won a small scholarship. I had done everything right, but when it was finally time to access my college fund, I discovered something that shattered my trust in my family. The money was gone. Let me introduce the man responsible, my uncle, Rick. Rick is my dad's younger brother, and if I had to describe him in one word, it would be reckless. He has spent his entire life jumping from one big idea to the next, always convinced that his latest business venture is going to make him a millionaire. He's tried flipping houses, investing in cryptocurrency, running a car dealership, and even opening a sports bar that failed within 6 months. The worst part, my dad has always been there to bail him out, no matter how many times he's crashed and burned. But this time, it wasn't just my dad's problem, it was mine. It started with a simple conversation. I had just received my financial aid package from my college, and while I had gotten a decent scholarship, it wasn't enough to cover everything. That was fine. I knew my college fund would cover the rest. So, one evening over dinner, I casually asked my parents how I could access it. The second the words left my mouth, the mood in the room shifted. My mom's fork froze halfway to her mouth. My dad let out a long sigh and rubbed his temples. The silence stretched uncomfortably. Something was wrong. I set my fork down. What's going on? My dad exchanged a look with my mom, who suddenly looked incredibly interested in her plate of food. Then, with another sigh, he finally said the words that flipped my world upside down. The money is gone. It took me a moment to process that. Gone? What do you mean gone? Dad cleared his throat. A year ago, Rick needed funding for his business's coffee shop. He swore it was a sure thing, that he just needed some temporary help to get started. I blinked. You gave him my college fund. Loaned. My dad corrected, as if that made it better. It was supposed to be temporary. Rick promised he'd pay it all back before you needed it, my mom added weakly. We thought it was safe. I could feel my pulse pounding. And now, Dad sighed. The shop went under 6 months ago. He lost everything. My stomach dropped. So, my future is just gone. And you didn't think to tell me. Mom winced. We were trying to fix it. We didn't want to worry you. Not worrying me. I let out a hollow laugh. You stole my future, and you didn't want to worry me. My dad's face hardened. Watch your tone, Jake. This isn't easy for us either. Easy for them. They weren't the ones who had just lost everything. I pushed my plate away. I want to hear it from him. Dad frowned. What? I want to hear it from Rick, face to face. And I want to know what he plans to do about it. That weekend, we had a family gathering at my grandparents' house. I knew Rick would be there. When I arrived, I spotted him immediately leaning back in his chair, laughing loudly, looking like he didn't have a care in the world. I marched straight up to him. We need to talk. He blinked up at me, surprised. Hey, kid. What's up? You know what's up? My voice was cold. My college fund. Where is it? The room went silent. My grandparents stopped chatting. My dad rubbed his face, already exhausted. Rick sighed dramatically, like I was being unreasonable. Look, Jake, I know you're upset. Upset? You stole my future, Rick. It wasn't stealing, he insisted. It was a loan, a business investment. Did I agree to invest in your business? I shot back. He shifted uncomfortably. Your dad did. That wasn't his money to give. Rick held up his hands. I had every intention of paying it back. But you didn't, and now I have nothing. Rick groaned. What do you want me to do, Jake? Magically make money appear? I want you to take responsibility, but you never do you? Before Rick could respond, my grandmother, who had been silent until now, slowly set down her fork and folded her hands on the table. Her gaze, sharp as a knife, locked onto him. Rick, she said firmly, you need to fix this. Rick scoffed, Fix it how? I already told you the money's gone. Then you'd better find a way to get it back, she snapped. Rick rolled his eyes. Oh, sure. Let me just pull a couple of $100,000 out of thin air. My grandmother didn't flinch. Maybe it's time you got a real job. That actually made him laugh. A real job? Are you serious? I'm an entrepreneur. No, you're a failure, she said bluntly. And now, because of you, Jake is paying the price. Rick turned to my dad. Are you seriously letting her talk to me like this? My dad sighed. She's right, Rick. You promised you'd pay it back. Rick let out an incredulous laugh. I can't believe this. You were fine bailing me out before. But now, all of a sudden, it's a big deal. My patience snapped. It was always a big deal, Rick. You just never cared, because it wasn't your future being destroyed. He scowled at me. Look, kid, don't kid me. You stole from me. You're a grown man who still leeches off his family like a parasite, and I'm done pretending that's okay. Rick's face darkened, and he sat forward, lowering his voice. You have no idea what it's like to struggle, Jake. I've been grinding for years, trying to build something of my own. The world doesn't just hand you success. You have to take risks. I clenched my fists. You risked my future without asking, and now you're trying to make me feel bad about it. He scoffed. It was just money. I slammed my hands on the table. It was my education, Rick, my career, my entire life. The room fell into stunned silence. Even my dad looked uncomfortable now. Rick waved a hand. Okay, I get it. You're mad. But screaming at me won't bring the money back. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my shaking hands. Then you're going to work to pay me back. Rick blinked. What? You heard me. I said. I don't care what you have to do. Get a job, sell your car, move in with 5 roommates. I want my money. Rick scoffed. That's insane. Grandma, who had been watching quietly, suddenly smirked. Actually, I think it's fair. You took the money, so now you pay it back. Rick looked around the table, searching for support. My dad looked exhausted but didn't argue. My mom stared at her plate, lips pressed together. My grandfather, who rarely spoke, finally sighed. You've been taking from this family for too long, Rick, Grandpa said. If you don't pay Jake back, you'll be cut off. No more help, no more money, nothing. Rick's face turned red. You're all seriously ganging up on me? Over some college tuition? I laughed bitterly. Oh, I'm sorry. Was my future inconvenient for you? He shot me a glare. You're acting like you're the only one who's ever struggled. I narrowed my eyes. I worked 2 jobs. I got a scholarship. I did everything right. Meanwhile, you sat around wasting money on stupid business ideas. Don't you dare act like we're the same. Rick ran a hand through his hair, looking agitated. Fine, you want your money back. Then maybe you should work for me. I blinked. What? Rick leaned back, arms crossed. You're looking for a way to pay for school, right? Well, I have a new business idea, and I could use some help. You work for me, and I'll start paying you back. I stared at him in disbelief. Are you seriously trying to get me to invest in another one of your schemes? Rick shrugged. It's not a scheme, it's an opportunity. Grandma scoffed. Oh, give me a break. What is it this time? Selling knockoff perfumes. Another failing food truck. Rick shook his head. This one's different. It's a subscription box service. I snorted. You mean like the hundreds that already exist? No, he said quickly. This one is special. It's for luxury men's grooming products. My dad groaned. Rick, stop. But Rick ignored him, now fully in sales mode. Listen, Jake, if you help me get this off the ground, we could both make serious money. You wouldn't even need college. I burst out laughing. You want me to drop out of school to work for you? Rick held up his hands. I'm just saying, it's an option. Grandma shook her head. You really haven't learned a thing, have you? Rick's expression darkened. Fine, I won't offer you a job, then. But I'm not paying back the money either. I don't have it. And I'm not going to ruin my life over some stupid college fund. My jaw clenched. Ruin your life? You already ruined mine. Well, that's not my problem, he said coldly. That was it. That was the moment I realized Rick would never take responsibility for what he did. I turned to my dad. If Rick isn't paying me back, then you need to. Dad looked guilty. Jake, we don't have that kind of money. Then find it, I snapped. You stole from me just as much as Rick did. And if you don't pay me back, I swear to God, I will take legal action. A stunned silence fell over the room. My dad looked horrified. Jake, you wouldn't. I held my ground. Watch me. Rick let out a mocking laugh. Oh, come on. You really think a lawyer's going to take your case? Grandma gave him a pointed look. Actually, I think I know a few who would. Rick's smugness wavered. Jake, my dad said, rubbing his face. Let's not do anything drastic. You mean like stealing my entire college fund? I shot back. My dad sighed heavily. We'll figure something out. Good, I said, standing up, because I'm done letting this slide. Either you fix this, or I will. That night, my parents begged me not to take legal action. They swore they would find a way to get the money back. My mom even suggested taking out a loan. Rick, meanwhile, sulked like a child. He kept insisting he'd make things right with his next business, but for the first time, no one believed him. I don't know if I'll ever see that money again. The one thing's for sure, Rick's free ride in this family is over.